Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So 2019, as I record this video, is coming to an end, and I decided that I would make a video of all of the pens that I purchased in 2019. I know this is something that a lot of you like to see, and equally you like to see my top 10 pens. So this video is just going to be the pens I purchased in 2019, and then I'll be doing a number of different separate videos rounding up this year. So how did 2019 go in terms of pen collecting? Well, I have 3 pen trays of pens. There's 10 pens per tray, so I purchased 30 pens in 2019. Now, that sounds quite a lot, but to put it in perspective, I've been collecting since mid-2016. In 2016, I purchased 28 pens. In 2017, I believe it was around 72 or 73 pens. In 2018, I purchased 55 pens. And then in 2019, I purchased 30 pens. So I have actually accumulated around about 170 pens. That's what I have in my collection today. I had another 20 on top of that I sold in the summer of 2019. So I guess you could take the view from 2017 was my highest year at 72, 73 pens. 2018 I reduced it down to 55, 2019 I reduced it down to 30 pens. So I kind of am buying less pens year on year, probably because I have most of the pens that I really want in my collection. So I don't quite know what 2020 will bring, but let's have a look at these pens here from 2019. So the first pen that I purchased was for my birthday in February 2019, and this was the Visconti Last Templar edition, and this is the Jacques de Molay, and this is a beautiful pen. It is made of silver, and it has a 23 cap palladium nib on there. This really is a beautiful, stunning pen. It is an expensive pen as well. There's nothing about that is cheap. It is an expensive pen, but it was a pen that I decided I had to buy, and I tend to buy more special pens for my birthday and for Christmas as well. So for me, that was a pen that I wanted to pick up, and I've been trying to pick up for a couple of years now. I had the opportunity to do so, and I decided to pick it up. Now, what I should say is these 10 pens here are all purchased between January and March, so that's 3 months. So we have 10 pens there, and if you said 4 weeks in a month, so that's what, 12 weeks, 10 pens, almost a pen a week. I'll let you judge whether or not that is normal or not. The next pen was the Scrembo Feel, and this is the blue-grey edition, and this, for me, is a stunning pen. It's a beautiful pen. It's made by Scrembo Bolognese in Italy, in Bologna, and this really is a beautiful pen. It's a plain-looking pen. It's got facets. It's got a bit of an hourglass shape to it. I purchased this because I'd already tried the Scrembo nibs, and this is the beautiful Omas OM81 nib. If you've seen my videos on this and you've seen my writing samples, you'll know exactly why this is a pen that I love to write with. And I love writing with all of my Scrembos. So I picked that up, I think it was in January, maybe February time. And then I was able to pick up this, and it's an Omas Paragon, the Arte Italiana in the Arco Brown. And if you've seen some of my Arcos, and there's a few here in this tray, you'll know that I do love the Arcos, and especially the Arco Brown pens. So I was able to pick this up second hand. It already had at least a couple of owners, but I was able to pick this up at our London pen club, and I was able to purchase this, and this was in March 2019. But again, this is an Omas nib. It's not the extra flesser belay nib, but it really is a beautiful nib. I do like writing with this. It did come with clicky tines, and I took it to John Soroka, and he was able to fix that for me. I've actually managed to sort of modify and fix a number of nibs. Clicky tines is a one that I've not really been able to master myself. It's probably easy fix, but I've just never been able to fix a clicky tines nib. So I'm really glad that this now writes perfectly. It only cost me about £25, and it was well worth the investment. And then in February through to March, I'd asked Sarge if he could pick up from the LA Pen Show when he went in, I think it was in January or February, the Armando Simone Club, and this is the Il Gladiatore. And again, it's an Arco Brown, but it's a stunning pen, and this comes with a aluminium feed, anodized feed, and a chocolate brown coated nib. And I do love these Arcos. They really do speak to me as a material, and I do love them a lot. And for me, this was a really good buy. Again, it wasn't a cheap pen, but it was a pen that I knew that I wanted to add to my collection. Along with this one, and this is the Visconti Manhattan Arco, and this was a highly coveted pen. Again, Sarge picked this up at the same time for me, and I had this delivered for the London Pen Show in March. This was very, very hard to actually get hold of. Among maybe a few people were able to get them. I know a lot of people placed orders with retailers, had them cancelled. I'm so glad that I was able to get this one. It comes with the newer Visconti 18 karat gold nibs with an ebonite feed, and I just like it. I love everything about the Arco, and for me this was a pen that I just had to buy. So again, it wasn't mega cheap, wasn't mega expensive though. Certainly the Il Gladiatore was a lot more expensive, so this was more of a bargain, I would say, in comparison. But again, I like the Arco material, and there were only 70 of the Manhattan Arco and 70 of the Il Gladiatore, I believe. So I'm glad I was able to pick those up, and that's 70 worldwide. And then I also picked this one up, and this was from the March London Pen Show. I picked this up from John Foy. This was the Molteni Royal Blue Lucents Modelo 55S, and I just love not only the blue there, but the transparency there on that barrel, and that is the Lucents material. And then the solid blue is the Royal Blue. Again, it's another Omas material. This is made. The company is Molteni, but it's actually made by the Leonardo guys when they were making pens for ASC. So this pen really writes exquisitely well. I love the nib on this. It's got a slight architect grind going to it. I picked this up because of the pattern, because I also knew that it was made by the Leonardo guys, and it just, to me, it's a really nice pen to be able to write with. I also picked up this one, and this is again a Leonardo pen, but this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero. It's a resin, but it's the Hawaii, and this is a really beautiful pen. I love the striated sort of pattern going on there. It's a cartridge converter with a steel nib, but for me it's a really, really nice pen. I got it with a broad nib on that one, but I love writing with that. And I also, at the same time at the London Pen Show, picked up this pen, and this is a FWI, or Fine Writing International, and it's called the Brass Demonstrator. I think it's got another name, but I call it the Brass Demonstrator. Very heavy. It's really just a cartridge converter, but you can eyedropper it. It's brass, and the brass does tarnish a lot. So this is starting to tarnish. Maybe I will try and polish that up a little bit. But it's a pen that I enjoy writing with. It's got a Jovo board nib on there, and I do like writing with that. So that's again just another pen that I picked up. And then I think it was in later March, I was looking at these pen BBS pens, and there are two. There's this one, which is the 308, and then there's the 309. Now this one normally comes with a cartridge converter. I decided to remove it, and I decided to eyedropper the pen, and I didn't like the nibs on these, and I had a couple of broad spare Leonardo steel nibs, so I fitted it with those nibs, and I like how they write. And then this is a 309. So the difference here is this is a piston and not a cartridge converter. But again, I love this pen. Unfortunately, the section does stain quite a bit, so the material that Pen BBS are using isn't really that great, I would say. But I bought it because of these lovely swirl patterns, and I think I've got other pens with swirl patterns like the London Fog from Visconti. I think it always brings me back to my early days when I used to, as a kid, have marbles with these like swirly patterns going in the marble balls, glass balls, and I always liked those marbles over other marbles. So I think maybe that's where it comes from. So I decided to buy these. They were relatively cheap pens, and I decided that I would buy those. So that really is the first 10 pens. So that was January to March 2019. And then I'll show you the next 10 pens. So here are the next 10 pens. And this really is from April. And I believe that's all the way through to around about July, maybe probably August, perhaps. I would need to double check that. But so again, left to right, we have this pen, and this is a pen that I picked up at the Northern Pen Show in Chester. And this is a pen from John Twiss, and I really love this. It's an alumilite material. Has a beautiful pattern. It's a very fiery pattern. I still actually I forgot to ask John what he called this material. I'm not even sure if he does call them a name. I've aptly named this the Volcano because it really does look a bit like a volcano, and I do love the pen. It has a Twiss nib on it. I got it with a broad nib, and this was one of these pens. It's a cartridge converter, but I decided there was really nothing at the pen show I wanted, and I was looking at this pen, and I said to a friend that I would probably come back at the end of the pen show. If it was still there, I would buy it, and strangely enough it was, and I made John an offer on it, and he accepted. So I was really glad that I was able to pick that up. It's got a broad Jovo nib on there, and I do like the Jovo broad nibs, so for me that was good. And then this was a pen that I picked up in May. I'd ordered it online on eBay. I'd actually got it for a very good price, and this, I know what you're going to say, but this is a Wildside. It's a fountain pen. Now, I did actually get this from Greece, and it actually arrived, and I went to twist the piston knob, and the whole piston mechanism came out. I was able to screw it back in again, and it's been writing fine ever since. So I do like this wild material. It's an Omos pen. It's an Omos Milord, and it's a pen that I do like a lot. So it's got a medium nib on there. It's not an extra flessibile Omos nib, but it's a nib that writes very well. And around the same time, I also decided I would pick up this one, and this one I know what you will say for sure, it's not a fountain pen. And yeah, you'd be right in that, it's a rollable, but I love this material, and this was going for an insane price. So I think it was a couple of £100, so I decided to pick that one up as well. And I really do like writing with rollables now and again. And then we have this one, and this was a pen that I picked up in June at the Midlands Pen Show. I picked this one up from John Foy. This is the Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra, and it's the Africa. And I really wanted the earlier version of this, but it turned out that it wasn't the same material, so it just turned out to be the Africa material. But I do still love this pen, so for me this is a really nice pen. It has the ASC Magic Flex nibs on there. It's an 18 karat gold nib, and I just love these pens. They are really a lovely pen to write with, and this material is really lovely. So if I get the chance to pick up an ASC pen, I will do. And then at the Midlands Pen Show in June, I stumbled across William Shakur again, and I got to play around with his Titans, and I decided that I would purchase them. I didn't purchase any at the show, but I purchased them, I think it was a few weeks later. Williams had to make them, and because these are 3D printed pens, he had to polish them. And he sent me these two that I purchased, and this is the purple version, and it is a very dark version, but it's a version that I do like. It comes with a Bock number 8 size titanium nib, beautiful writing nib, very similar to the Omas OM81 gold nibs, extra flexibile nibs. Both nibs are actually made by Bock. This is a piston filling pen and holds just over 3 milliliters of ink. And you can see that these are very large, they won't quite fit in my pen trays. And I picked up this green version, and again, it's a piston filling, and it has the number 8 size titanium Bock nib. But this really is a beautiful writing pen. So they're a little bit on the oversized, they don't have clips, but I liked that writing experience, so I decided I would buy them. And then there's these three, and sometimes we do wonder what on earth we were thinking. I'm always been into space and a fan of space, and Retro 51 did these rollables, and it was a Apollo space set. So I really wanted the fountain pen. I couldn't get it at the time, so I got this set of rollables. So we've got this first one, which is the Space Race Gemini, and you just twist the knob and the nib comes out. But the detail on this pen is pretty substantial. So this was a pen that I liked the look of a lot, along with this one. This one I actually prefer more. This is the Apollo 11 version, and that really speaks to me more. And then we had the Mercury version, and again that one speaks to me quite a lot. Yeah, they all look like the rockets or the shuttles. So for me, I do use rollables from time to time. You can't always use fountain pens, so I do tend to use them from time to time. And then there was this Scrembo feel in the Verde Prato. I love how the Scrembos write, and they do have those Omas OM81 extra flexibile nibs with an ebonite feeder. So for me, this is a beautiful pen, and I realised I had to pick this up because I love this pattern, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So let's look at the final 10 pens that I purchased in 2019. So here are the final 10 pens I purchased. So along with that Scrembo Feel Verde Prato, I also had to buy this Scrembo Feel Verde Bosco. Again, it's the same pen with an Omas OM81 extra flexibile nib, but it's just a gorgeous pen. Not only is the pen gorgeous, but the writing experience is gorgeous as well. And just prior to the London Pen Show, I think it was in August maybe, I purchased this one, and this was from right here, John Hall, and this is again a Scrembo. It's a Scrembo 3, and you can see the right here logo on that pen, and that differs a little bit to what is the Scrembo logo. And this pen from right here is made by Scrembo, and again it has these lovely Omas OM81 extra fletter belay nibs. So for me, again, the writing experience is key on that. I also picked up around about, I think it was probably around about June, July, this pen, and this is the Vintage and Modern Pens, and this was from Ray at Vintage and Modern Pens. This was an ebonite pen, and I did a number of reviews of these pens. These pens are made in India. It's ebonite, so it's hard rubber. These are cartridge converters, but the reason why I got this is it had a Franklin Christoph 1.9mm music nib on it, and for me, although I'm not a fan of generally ebonite patterns or generally ebonite, but for me that nib was what did it for me. So I managed to acquire that from Ray at Vintage and Modern Pens. I then was able to, Jackie at our UK South Fountain Pen Club was able to secure some of these Retro 51 Apollos, and these were the fountain pens. So around about September, just in time for the Pelican Hub, she was able to secure these with a bit of a discount, and because it was the fountain pen version, I decided, although it was actually a lot more expensive than I thought it would be, I decided that I would actually buy it, and it would go also with my other Retro 51 pens. And these have got Yovo nibs on them. This is a medium nib, but it writes a little bit more like a fine nib for me. But still, I like these Space Race pens, and that was a pen that I bought at that moment in time. And then again, another rollable pen, unfortunately, but at the same time, Jackie said that they also have these Discovery Retro 51s, and I do like the space shuttles, so I decided I would also pick up this rollable version as well. Ideally, I'd prefer that these were fountain pens, but they didn't do a lot of these in fountain pens. It was really the Apollo 11, I think, that they did in the fountain pen version. So it's a shame if they were in fountain pens, then at least I haven't seen them in fountain pen versions. If they were available, I'd probably have picked up the fountain pen version. But still, I like the rollables anyway. I can use those at any point. And then there was this one, and I said to William Shakur, this is another one of his Titans, and I said to him prior to the London Pen Show numerous times, I'd really like one, and I'm thinking about going for the red one. And he made this, so I managed to pick this up from William at the London Pen Show in October 2019. And again, like the other two Titans, this has a number 8 size titanium Bock nib. It's a piston filling pen. It is a mammoth of a pen, but it's a really nice pen to write with. I love these nibs, so I was glad that I was able to pick up another one of those from William. I know a few friends also picked up versions of the pen as well in different colours, and some were in the rounded versions. Also at the London Pen Show, I was able to pick up this, and this is a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande version. It's a larger version of the Momento Zero, but this really is a lovely colour. It's called the Sand. I've also seen some European vendors call it the Spaghetti or Spaghettio because of the strands going on there. I really do love these Grandes. They really do feel the right size for me. The sections does taper down a little bit too narrow. I tend to hold it up a little bit higher. It's got a steel nib on this version. They've got some with gold nibs. It's not a cartridge converter. It looks as though it is, but it is a integrated piston. So it's basically a much wider, longer converter, but it's glued in place, so you cannot remove that. So do not try. But I do love that pen a lot. So that's probably I will probably be picking up more Grandes at some point in 2020, I suspect. And then we have this one, and if I can get it out of the pen tray, this is the Armando Simone Club, and this is the Bologna Extra, and it's the black and gold Lucians, sometimes just called the black Lucians. And it's very similar to the Molteni in the blue Lucians. It's got this see-through look. I call it black and gold. It's more black and honey, but it is a lovely pen. You can see there's got a bit of ink around the section there because it's been up and down in my pen bag, so I'm going to clean that out. It's got a Magic Flex nib. I've been taking a lot of these pens to work with me, and when I put them in my rucksack, they do tend to sort of roll around a little bit. I picked up from John Foy at St John's Pens, and that was at the London Pen Show. I also picked up this stunning pen as well, and this is the Sailor King of Pen Secula Nagar, and this is a beautiful pen. It's a Maquet pen, it's a Rawdon pen, and I absolutely adore this pen. Even more special because it's an Asian nib, Sailor King of Pen Asian nib. I got it in abroad knowing that this would write a little bit more like a Western medium, and I really do like that nib. So for me, this is a beautiful, stunning pen. I'm really glad I was able to add that to my collection. And then last but not least, this pen, and this pen is absolutely gorgeous. This is my Christmas pen for 2019, and I have a review of this, and I am blown away by this material. Again, this is a Pelican, it's an M1000, and it's a Starlight. It's a Maquet Rawdon. It was made in 2014. It has these abalone shell stripes, and then you have this gold dust sprinkled around, and it really is a beautiful pen. I do like the M1000s, and this is no exception. It comes with a medium nib, but this is a beautiful nib and a beautiful pen. So you can really see my last 2, 3, 4 pens, maybe 5. I really rounded the year off with a bang. This reminds me of fireworks a lot, and this really is a beautiful pen. So that was my 30 pens for that I purchased in 2019. What does 2020 bring? Now that's a very good question. I honestly don't know. I think I would probably like to not buy more than 30 pens. I would, if I'm going to buy 30 pens, that's going to take me from 170 to 200 pens. I'm already struggling writing regularly with the 170, and if I was to be honest, I'm probably only writing with about half of those, so around 85. So if I'm going to buy another 30 pens, I don't think I want to get to 200, so I probably would sell another 20 or 30 to try and keep it around 170. But I don't know, maybe I'll buy less pens in 2020, maybe I will buy more pens, who knows. I guess it really depends on the types of pens that come out. But I am refining the choice of my pens. Maybe this year was a little bit all over the place in terms of some of these retro 51s and some of these massive Titans, an ebonite pen. So there was a bit of a mix in here for 2019, but I buy the pens that I like, or I like the look of, and all of these appeal to me in one way or another. If it wasn't for the look, it was for the writing experience. There you have it. That's my 30 pens I purchased in 2019. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.